back in Adelaide at the BP Grand Final, and you are not mistaken, this is Formula One back on the streets of the South Australian capital, as it was between 1985 and 1995. And this weekend there'll be a Red Bull speed comparison, and David Coulthard is behind the wheel of this Red Bull RB7, about to set the benchmark lap for that speed comparo. Two proud South Australian kids who grew up with their noses pressed into the mesh fencing here, the Adelaide Street Circuit. Richard Craill and Matt Nolte with you for this, which is extremely cool.
I don't know what to say right now. This is just tugging at the heartstrings for so many years. Hearing this car this morning go around for a test run and bouncing between the concrete walls, and I mean, we didn't have this spec car. This is as loud as what it was back in the 90s here. But to see an F1 car displays around here, there's a lot of people will be looking, going, yeah, how good is this? For Matt Payne, he's wondering what the noise is all about.
He's seen all this before, but enjoying the sights and indeed the sound. So two Red Bull RB7s here this weekend. The 2011 World Championship winning car. 11 victories for Seb Vettel that season, one for Aussie Mark Webber. They won the Drivers and Constructors Championship in a remarkable period of domination for the Red Bull team. Renault V8 in the back, screaming away at 18,000 RPM, 750 horsepower and 640 kilos, more grunt than weight. These things were rocket ships, and it's very cool to have Scott Speed, yes, but David Coulthard especially. His first Australian Grand Prix was here in 1995, and he led the early laps of that race, and then he crashed his Williams into the pit wall coming in for a stop. Infamously, one of the most famous moments in Adelaide Grand Prix history came in that final race.
And not just David Coulthard out there, American Scott Speed is out there with this year's livery of the Racing Bulls.
Yeah, and the same with the Red Bull car as well. So these are the two demo cars that go all around the world, and probably two of the higher mileage Formula One cars going around at the moment. And we saw a couple of years ago at the Bathurst 12-hour Liam Lawson cutting some laps. It was in the same Red Bull RB7 that David Coulthard is driving here this weekend. So it's a car with a little bit of history, and just reminding the fans in Adelaide of that incredible Formula One era. DC doing some skids.
Wouldn't be a bad way to make a gig, going around doing demonstrations worldwide is what these two do. Of course, Speed was your first American since Michael Andretti to make Formula One back in '06, and now spends his days doing this. This is the job that we all want.
DC, a little jet lagged. He jumped straight off a plane from Las Vegas from the Grand Prix on the weekend to come here, and then he heads straight back to the Middle East for the finale and the final two rounds of the Formula One World Drivers' Championship. Of course, you'll see all of that action live and ad break free from green flag to check it at the end here on Fox Sports. It's going to be an amazing couple of weeks in this showdown. And what is it about Red Bull cars creeping up on the Aussies in a World Championship? A little bit nervous from that, but this has been amazing. And it's all part, Nolts, of 40th anniversary celebrations celebrating the history of the Adelaide Street Circuit, which burst into life. Alan Jones, the first driver out, 1985, the Australian Grand Prix. Prix?
And I'm lucky enough to be with David Coulthard as he's just stepped out of the car. David, I'm sure it's like you never left in 1995.
Well, it reminds me just how quick these cars are. But yeah, look, it's great. It's a real privilege to have the opportunity to drive what was a World Championship winning car in its day on a fantastic racetrack in the sun of Adelaide.
It's a privilege that we have you guys here this weekend. Just tell us when you first head out of pit lane. I mean, talk me through the circuit, the thoughts, what are the memories that it brings back to you?
Well, the first chicane, the first corner, is a lot faster than I remember. To me, in my history, in my mind, it felt a little bit more closed, and now it seems a lot more open. I think that's maybe just aging. You know, when I was younger, I could handle the speed. But you know, when you drive a Grand Prix car, it just keeps accelerating and accelerating, and the downforce comes on. So obviously a bit of a safety margin, but it's look, it's a privilege. So I'm really, really happy to be here.
Tell us what the process is for you guys throughout the weekend. You'll be doing demonstrations and the speed comparison throughout the weekend. I mean, what sort of needs to happen for all this to happen on track?
Well, we have to have the brilliant organisers here that are doing this race event to allow us to come and do these little speed comparisons and the fast laps like that, where I'm learning again the race circuit. The downside of doing all this, it means I can't get to enjoy all the beautiful vineyards you have around here, but next time.
I'm sure that someone can take you on a bit of a tour on Monday and enjoy the sights and sounds of what South Australia has to offer. Thank you so much for your time, David. Really looking forward to seeing you throughout the weekend.
Me too, yeah. Thank you.
Nice job, Ree. Great to have David Coulthard back here, Kralsey. 30 years since he led the final Australian Grand Prix and getting a chance. How he's changed in that time as well. He was a young, bright, bushy-tailed driver back in the 90s. Now he wants to sample the vineyards, but how good is it just to have F1 back on the streets of Adelaide?
Still sharp as a tack, though,
Isn't he?
Nolts. Very fit and right up to speed on all of this stuff. So